time it is!
I am your host, Chris. We are giving you all the information with little to no research of everything going on in the world. So thank you for listening. I'm trying out a new microphone configuration for this. So let me know how it sounds, if it sounds better or worse. I just thought I would give something a shot here. Before I get going, the beer I am drinking right now, and will continue to be drinking, is called the Johnny Utah Pale Ale from Georgetown Brewing in Seattle, Washington. Well, I don't know why I couldn't read Seattle, but Johnny Utah Pale Ale, and it's pretty good. You can find it, at least in my area, if you go to a store that kind of specializes in kind of beers from all over the place, and if you're into pale ales, 5.6 alcohol, so that if that means anything to you. And there's two things. Any beer that gets named after a Point Break is all right by me, and the fact that they brew in Georgetown, if memory serves correct, most people try to avoid Georgetown. So the fact that they're brewing down there is pretty impressive, but let me know if I'm wrong on that. So what you're going to notice, however, is this will be the second episode where the other Chris isn't available. And so what I kind of want to just make sure that there's no questions or anything running into that, why he's not here. So what was happening is he was looking to buy his buddy's moped, technically moped, I don't know if scooter or what have you, but looking in to buy that. And so what he's going to do is he's actually going to take it down to I guess technically it's a craft root beer festival. It's about 2 hours south of where we live. So he's taking it, and you can't take that on any main highways or anything like that. Especially if you're trying to test drive it. So he's on one of those semi backwards highways trying to get down there. And as he's going down there, a deer's in the middle of the road, as will often happen, right? And so he swerves and misses the deer. And this is an hour into his trip or so. So he swerves to miss the deer, manages to miss it. So that's all well and good. Goes about another 5 miles. There's another deer. Now, when he goes to swerve this one, what he didn't know was the fact that there was a refrigerator truck had just sprung a leak. So the refrigerant was all over. So he goes to avoid the deer, and he hits the slippery spot, and he starts to spin, 360, 720, just spinning all around, round, manages to right it, and starts going. As soon as that happens, the refrigerant truck was just around the other corner, and he basically didn't see that they had realized it and stopped, so he has to slam on the brakes. He goes skidding, bike goes under the truck, he hits the truck tire somehow, and flies into the middle of a wheat field. So right now, what we know thus far is he is somewhere on foot. The moped, was recovered, very minor scratches. So, dude's still going to be able to resell it, which is pretty cool. And, they found where he entered the wheat field. However, they think he's somewhat confused or, concussed or something like that. So what they're doing right now is they're canvassing the wheat field, trying to figure out where he went. Just the simple fact that, it's, unlike a cornfield, there's not specific rows and things like that. So you can't just, so they're having to look all in. Now, the problem is the local sheriffs have called off the search, basically saying, if we find him, hey, whatever. So, but if not, we're gonna have to, it is what it is. So right now there's a family group looking for him, family and friends, and so I hope if he hears this, to let him know to come back safe, and I hope we find him. But I tell you, he was all excited because this would have been the first year the Craft Root Beer Festival wouldn't have gone on in, I would say, at least 43 years. And he was, really excited, and he was afraid he was going to miss it. So, the Lord giveth, I guess. So, as we look into this, we've been dealing with the COVID thing a lot. The news, what's bugged me is the news has seemed slightly odd, just for the simple fact that it seems like we're getting whatever. I mean, and this is a hack premise by now. Anyway, we're getting what kind of the news sounds, thinks is fun. For a while, we were just hearing COVID and how, 300 million people, whatever, were gonna die. Again, that was estimated. And once, it seemed like they got tired of talking about the COVID thing. And so, hey, let's start a protest. And, I mean, again, nothing wrong with protesting it, but it seemed like that was all that was covered. And all of a sudden there was, 2-3 weeks there where no one was getting COVID. And then all of a sudden then the protest got too much, much to report, more than people wanted it to be. So now we're back to COVID news. So, and again, and Trump got a lot of shit for what he said. However, he didn't say it very eloquently, but his point is very valid, where if you don't test as many people, you're not going to see as many, there's not going to be as many cases. Yeah, that was dumb. And yes, that's not how it works. But the fact is what we're seeing more tests being available, so more people are getting tested. And then you find more and more asymptomatic people are getting tested, and those numbers are going up. So while you're seeing a big increase, and I mean, Florida pretended there wasn't COVID for the whole time, and now they're, rising cases. And you would think with the, I don't know, Florida's its own beast, but you think with their elderly population, you'd think they would have been closer to, the safe side rather than the sorry side. So there, you got that going on. Yeah, it was just odd that, now that the protests were, now we go back to it, it almost seems like something's behind it all. And it was interesting. You look at, New York shuts down for 3 months or whatever. No one goes out or anything like that. They're not seeing the huge spike. In fact, that's another thing that confused me as well, is you're not seeing a big spike in the areas where there was the protests. At least it's not getting advertised. So, the areas where there's big protests, you're not seeing I haven't seen huge numbers increase from Atlanta. Obviously, up in Minnesota, Seattle, LA, all those places, you're not seeing the big rise that you would think you would if it was spreading the way it is. So, it's just odd. And like I said, Trump's a moron. He said it the wrong way, but yes, people who wouldn't have gotten tested before are now getting tested, and so we're showing more people who had it who are asymptomatic or barely symptomatic. So I noticed that, and it's just odd. And I mean, I don't believe in the news anyway, so I mean, I was on the fake news train. Back in, I'd have to confirm with the other Chris, but back in 2007, yeah, I thought no news was real anyway. So anyway, the more we get looking into this, what else has been going on since my last real... Oh, sports are back. They're coming back. There's been a few golf tournaments. MLB's announced the thing. NHL's going to start up soon. Bowling is back. They figured it out. So, and of course, as you've known from an Instagram post, I am very pro bowling, at least bowling on TV. And I'm not going to call these people athletes, because you're not. But it's entertaining as shit to watch on TV with how serious they take it and all their fancy wrist things. And there's a broad on there who had her entire arm and leg just lined with KT tape. Like, it was gonna do something, and it was just great. And I don't know, and the bowlers, but the big name, the big guy who's got the whole deal with Fox, Jason Belmonte, has not been able to come up from Australia, so that's kind of a big hit in the bowling community. So without that big name, you still got the white guy with the huge fro, so you got that going on. And yeah, I mean, so he's gonna have to be kind of the big name. And unfortunately, from what I've seen, he hasn't really been running wild. Now, one thing that I have questioned, and anyone who is a fan of competitive or professional bowling is gonna have to let me know. It seems like if you have some sort of a gut, it would help your bowling ability, for the simple fact that when you're getting ready to go, you have something to rest the ball on. I noticed that a lot of the skinny guys, had to hold it the whole time, where you see a couple fat guys and it's just sitting on their stomach there. So it's almost, I mean, in my opinion, it seems unfair. So I don't know if some of these guys want to start wearing a fat suit, if that's legal, if there's going to be, I don't know, maybe weight classes like boxing, I don't know, but bowling's back. And what I have been watching, obviously, I spoke about it last time, boxing, of course, but the Australian Football League is back. Australian rules football. I thoroughly enjoy Australian rules football. It takes the best things of football, the best things of rugby, and just combines them both. It is absolutely great. I've almost got most of the rules figured out. I know that if you catch a ball kicked, you get to do whatever you want with it for free. Like, no one gets to cover you or anything like that. And let's see, I could be wrong again. I'm not going to say anything more. I didn't write it down. But yeah, and you get a certain amount of points, for certain things, kicking it through the uprights and whatnot. And it's fascinating. And I'm officially going to have to say I am a Collingwood fan, for the simple fact that the only American I know of in the league is Mason Cox, and he plays for Collingwood. So I believe it's the Magpies. Go Magpies. I've kind of fallen out of Korean baseball, not for fun or anything like that. It's just I've been falling asleep certain times, and so have been missing it, and not really following who's doing what. But if it's on while I'm awake, I hit it up. So yeah, anyone and I know ESPN just showed a game this last weekend, but I know Fox Sports has been showing quite a bit of Aussie rules football over the last couple of years, and it's still going. So I would definitely check that out. What else we got going on here? Oh, big news, of course, and this shouldn't come. I mean, this came as a slight shock to me for one simple reason, but Roger Stone's prison sentence was commuted, so he's not going in there, and we knew that wasn't going to happen. And if you ask Donald Trump Jr., Roger Stone is either a guy who tried to hang out with Trump a lot and tried to be involved with it and, just kind of got caught up in trying to be Trump's boy. Or if you ask Roger Stone, he was heavily involved in the campaign and did everything he could and yada, yada. So the one thing that surprised me about it was actually done before the election. So I figured, Stone would have had to, spend a month or two in jail. Trump gets reelected, which I think was Sleepy Joe. I think Trump's getting reelected. I don't see how the scales get tipped enough away from Trump supporters, the middle of the road Trump supporters. The people are like, oh yeah, he's kind of a racist. Yeah, he's kind of a tool, but I like what he's doing with my taxes, or I like what he's doing with the police and what have you. So you're not going to get those people away from him with Joe Biden. So I see him winning again. In fact, I think it may even be the popular vote this time for both popular and electoral, just because of the simple fact that there's no Hillary, there's no vote for the first female president, even if she is a crook or criminal or whatever. And I'm sad to see that Hillary is not in the mix anywhere, but she does, after having Epstein killed, she's got to worry about Ghislaine Maxwell, who just showed up, and it's going to be tough to get to her too, because now, when she quote unquote suicides herself in jail, I mean, it's not going to be surprised. Epstein, it was a shock that he was. I don't know. There's plausible deniability, I guess, is what you could say, to say, hey, yeah, Epstein, killed himself in prison. He didn't want to have to say all this shit, Or I've heard theories that he knew Maxwell was helping out already, and they already knew where she was, and so when he found out, that's when he offed himself. But we know he was he did not suicide himself, in my personal opinion. He was suicided by somebody. And it's going to be tough because, Hillary's got to get rid of Maxwell, who just was arrested. But now everyone's looking for it. So with Giuliani and all the RICO things going on, and the way the mob has gone away, you don't have your Lee Harvey Oswalds or your Jack Rubies that you could just call up at any moment and say, hey, we need this taken care of. And, you call up your, New Orleans mob people and you say, hey, we need this taken care of. Let's take care of this. You don't have that person anymore because thanks to Rudy, the mob's not what it used to be anymore. So now as a high level political person, it's harder to get your hands dirty because you don't have that. And I mean, I'll go deeper into my JFK, conspiracy before, but really what it was, New Orleans mob, in conjunction with both Lyndon Johnson and AT&T, stick with me, with Lee Harvey Oswald, was in the book depository, Jack Ruby, shooter on the grassy knoll. And then either Johnson or AT&T were worried about Lee Harvey Oswald. I mean, considering, he said he was a patsy when he was arrested. So, maybe when he went to the movie theater, he started thinking, it's like, oh, this is no good. And so, Jack Ruby took him out. So it's, so you're not going to be able to get that with Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, since you already took care of Epstein. So what you got to hope is that she has more hearsay things than, specific things than Epstein has, more, or else, a lot of people, are going to be in trouble. And if there's no way the Clintons can't get her without everyone knowing it's the Clintons. If you want to save your legs, if you think a murder is more safe for your legacy than whatever Maxwell could say or whatever Epstein could say, well then yeah, by all means go ahead and do it. But if not, it's gonna be ugly for some people. And I hope Hill Dog and Bill are really looking into this, and I hope they can figure out a way to get themselves out of this, like they seem to do time and time again. So yeah, Roger Stone is out, it's. Oh, and this, I mean, a little bit of sad news, but stick with me here because I'm going to try to go a different direction than the news is going. There was two private planes that crashed over Lake Coeur d'Alene in North Idaho, just east of the Washington border. And unfortunately, a few people died. A gentleman in the Pacific Northwest Gulf out of Oregon was one of the casualties. Very, very horrible. And I heard a lot of people who were out there, but not a lot saw it. So that was kind of interesting. And I was on my way back from a wonderful trip to Montana when I heard about the news, and so I was, a state away. I mean, worlds away, you could say. But here's the thing. Apparently, it was in the same bay that the tribal police keep their boats stationed for, whenever they have to do anything out there. So the tribal police, well, now from what I hear is when the plane crash happened and, people were scurrying, those boats never moved. And I'm like, wow, that's that's odd. That's, you'd think, police. But then I started thinking the tribal police can't be too excited to go and help people, when I mean, this was their lake to begin with, and now you guys only get one bay for your stuff, and you have to watch, people, flying their little planes over your water. It's like, hey, it's you assume you assume it's whitey in the lake, so let Idaho take care of it. We're tribal police. What are we gonna do? We can go pull some stuff out too, but we got bigger fish to fry. We got a casino to reopen, and we got fireworks to sell at 75% off. So whatever they're going to do. But anyone I talked to who was surprised at them, oh, I can't believe the tribal police didn't do anything. Really? Really? I mean, for everything that we've done for them, for every, I'm not sure they were really, too excited to, I'm not sure they're too excited to lend their help to a situation like that. Hey, there might be something that happens in tribal waters that we have to take care of. I don't know how that works, but if any of you are surprised that a tribal marine unit wouldn't move for a crash of random people, I mean, just look at history. I mean, I don't blame them. At first I was like, oh, that's weird. Why wouldn't they move for that? It's, they simply, but then I thought about it. It's like, they still owe us a few non-responses to emergencies. I mean, I think there's probably been 3 they haven't moved for, and they probably owe us another 30 or so. So, and that's at the low end. So, I was a little surprised hearing that, but then the more I thought about it, it's like, you know what? I wouldn't be in too much of a hurry to rush out there either. So just just my point. I'm not exactly sure. That was fucked up, and I don't feel shitty for everyone who lost family or anything like that. Or I'm pretty sure there were some children involved, so that sucks. But yeah. Anyway, back to hopefully add some levity. This weekend, had really nothing going on, and so there was a bachelorette and bachelor party, and I watched the fight, but that was just, sitting around. But I ended up having to be a designated driver a couple times. And so one of the times, I said, fuck it, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take the long way home. I'm going to, head down in Spokane at Sprague, which is, our red light district, quote unquote. And for a Friday and Saturday night, I didn't see a whole lot of people working. And then I thought, we're all worried about these businesses, and this is a bit that a comedian did years ago, but I kind of thought about it when I saw this, but COVID had to have really screwed with the underground prostitution business. It's, I mean, people are quarantined, so they have nowhere to go. They're stuck at home. They have no excuse to, get out and, go run to the office while they leave their wife at home. And if, you're supposed to be quarantined, you standing on the side of the street, you're gonna stand out even more. Not only are you gonna get arrested for prostitution, you're gonna get ticketed for breaking the curfew or breaking the quarantine. So, I mean, that's tough. Less traffic, less foot traffic, all those sorts of things. And I'd really like to know, because I can't think of a way that a hooker can socially distance. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, we can go back to the days of the jerk-off booths, but, I'm not sure that would, that would bring in the same cashish that they are currently making. So, I really think we're focusing on the wrong, while we should, be giving a hand to first responders, as we should. Although I think second responders kind of get a shitty end of the deal. They say, first responders, but you know what? The second responders is the expert they call in once the first responders tell them what they need. So I think there needs to be a couple commercials for the second responders. Maybe not as many. I would just like to see a couple. But all these businesses that, the restaurant business, the nightclub business, I mean, churches are getting bailed out. Where's that bailout? Why aren't we bailing out the oldest profession in the world? When, quite honestly, the more I think, I'm having a hard time thinking of a business that's been more affected by the whole COVID thing. I mean, you look back, you even look down the road. I mean, going into phase 2 or phase 3 or whatever it is. I'm not sure. Social distancing, is available for their career. So I mean, you're either risking COVID and risking an additional fine or what have you, as well as the prison time, or you got to figure out something to do. So I would like any of my listeners and to reach out to anyone or just give ideas on how you think we should bail out, or what we can. There's no GoFundMe for prostitutes. That's what I'm saying, and I would like to see that started. It's the world's oldest profession. From what I'm told, it saved many marriages. So there's reduced the court cost. I mean, sure, it's broken up a few too, but I think it's saved more than it's broken up. I just, we shut down, Backpage and Craigslist for him. We're already trying to take him out. So I don't know. And then you go into the argument, the libertarian argument, prostitution should be legal. But you know what? I'm still not seeing where taking this from the joke side to the real political side. I bet even legalized prostitution, you'd have to see in other places, but I bet you that's even taking a hit with this whole thing. And I mean, gloves and masks, and I mean that's 2 out of we'll say 4 things you can use. You're taking away, so and then even go there, then that limits your menu. If someone comes in, only wanting a cheeseburger, but you say, hey, sorry, we don't have that. You only have steak or dessert, and they can only afford a cheeseburger. I mean, you're screwed. You can't lose the mask. If they just wanted fries, you can't take off the gloves. So it's really sad. I really well, we're worried about restaurants and small businesses. I think those sole proprietors are people we have to worry about. But the big thing that I wanted to talk about is the protests went from Black Lives Matter and all that, especially seeing that fucked up video. And that video was something else. Regardless of how you stand on it, you can't look at that video and say, if nothing else, that something needs to happen with that guy, at least, or those guys. That's and it's funny now. Now you're starting to see everyone okay with Kaepernick, and everyone just the justice position where it's before, if you were pro Kaepernick, you were anti-America. Now if you're anti-Kaepernick, you're almost anti-citizen, or you're almost anti-America, which is just a weird. But in here in Spokane, they talked about one of the protests, or the protests that happened, and there was compared to other places, Molotov cocktails getting thrown at cops, doesn't necessarily register as small, but there was a minor protest and looting, and tear gas was going, or they tried to loot, and all those things, and it was tough to figure out on the news, because either the looters were protesters, anti-protesters, Antifa that was busted in, or Proud Boys that were busted in. So I don't know. It was or there's the people that showed up. I don't know. Maybe can't we just say the looters are douchebags and leave it at that? Like, why? It was the same thing that happened in Charlottesville. Like, why can't we just say, hey, look, these people doing this, they're fine. These people are cunts. Let's just say that. I mean, the guys walking down the street with the tiki torches, they're assholes, but the guy who ran people over, he's a cunt. So, the people that are, protesting and everything are fine. The guy who breaks out the window and throws shit at the cops, they're the cunts. I mean, I don't know why it has to be we especially on the liberal side. I want to. No, that's not true. It's on both sides, but we want to break everyone down in a micro sort of way. We want to say, I'm this, but I'm not this. I'm this sort of thing. And why can't we do that? With protesters and shit like that. Hey, these protesters were cool. Oh yeah, those 3 that tried to loot the store, they were cunts. So let's not talk about them in the same sentence. I don't know why that doesn't happen, but what we have started seeing, and more and more, and it's already it started well before, and it's still continuing, is the Confederate statues are dumping them in the river. In Columbus, they're getting rid of those because Columbus, A, wasn't the first one here, B, did he take slaves, or I don't remember what the thing. Anyway, Columbus isn't the guy that we thought he was once we gave him the day. And the Confederate statues and things like that, are going because, the whole big thing is they lost and they're fighting for the side of slavery, and now we know slavery's wrong. And then you hear some scholars say, well, it wasn't for slavery, it was for tax. I'm not going to get into that whole debate right now, especially since I would just, spend 3.5 hours arguing with myself and eventually would get taken out of here like I'm Scott Stapp in the woods or something like that. But that's the whole argument. They're the losing side and they're fighting for slavery. Okay, whatever, I'll hear that. And now they're trying to take colonial statues down. And this is kind of what annoys me about it. And I could give a flying fuck about anyone's statue. I mean, quite honestly, you're not erasing history by taking down a fucking statue. Just because you took down the Joe Paterno statue at Penn State doesn't mean he wasn't a coach there, and doesn't mean he, kept a child molester on his welfare. He's still there. I mean, hell, you go back to Varsity Blues, that coach still won 37 national or state championships, even if you try to take a statue down. So you're not going to but the fact that we're looking at like, taking down George Washington's statue, it's not so much. Again, I could give a flying fuck about statues. I think statues are dumb anyway. We have animatronic shit now. If you've ever been to Disneyland, you've seen animatronic shit. I don't know why we're still building statues. Why we're still building, these things. I don't get it. Like, we should have moved past statues. Like, we're better. I mean, literally, they're made of stone. They're from the Stone Age. Why are we still fucking around with statues? But the reasoning behind it, and I kind of see the reason, but it kind of bugs me, because it's going to have to get into a lot of revisionist history. Because you look at it, yeah, so George Washington owned slaves. So nothing he did counts anymore. Well, they didn't build the statue because he owned slaves. Thomas Jefferson owned and banged half of his slaves. They didn't build the statues because he did. So now you want to go back, and they're talking about Robert E. Lee, taking all of his shit, because of everything. Well, I mean, people forget that Lincoln originally wanted Robert E. Lee on the Union side. So, and I'm sure I bet you can go down the list. You find any sort of colonial or Civil War time statue, whether it be Northern or Southern, you're gonna find, I don't know how to say this, racial skeletons in their closet. I guess it is. I'm not sure if that's the best way to say it, but yeah, racial skeletons. I mean, good enough at anything. Anyway, if you look at, I would say anywhere, hell, let's go 1950 and before. Odds are you're going to see some sort of racist or sexist or abusive thing on any statue that was built of someone before that. It's just going to happen. So, okay, here's what I recommend. Don't pick and choose which statues you want to get rid of. You know, if you're going to get rid of Washington, you have to get rid of Jefferson. If you get rid of Jefferson, you have to, I think you even have to get rid of Grant, if I'm remembering correctly. I didn't write any of this shit down. It's just, I got half buzzed and got annoyed about statues going in the river. So, you're going to have to, go do that. And another thing, there's statues of Martin Luther King Jr., right? He's a well-known adulterer. Rumor has it he was very anti-homosexual, anti things like that. So, and he was a reverend. So, if you start looking at that, there's plenty of reasons where, today, but not today, but years down the road, not too far down the road, possibly in my lifetime, where there's going to be people, most likely from the left, and I'm not trying to turn this into a left-right thing. I'm just saying that's you're seeing throwing the Washington statues into the river. But you're gonna have people saying, why do we have statues from Martin Luther King Jr.? That is because he's an adulterer. All these other rumors about him. And how you get to the point where there's going to be some people who want to take him down because, he was a Christian and, that's not separation of church, whatever. So if we're going to start thinking that way, if we're going to start thinking, well, anyone who has any sort of shit in their past, they're going to, we're going to, if they have anything built to them or anything made of them or whatever, we're going to take it down. So since George Washington's the most recent on the list, the state I live in is going to have to be renamed. A couple of the streets that I travel on are going to have to be renamed. I think I have an uncle who's going to have to get renamed from George. It's going to be interesting. So I don't know, obviously DC is probably going to have to become, I don't know, DiCaprio DC or something. I don't know, something that people could agree with. It seems like both sides seem to like DiCaprio. He environmentalist and environmentalist and all about that, and uses some salty language in Tarantino movies. So there's a good group of people who like that too. But I think my big point on this whole statue thing, as I grab another beer, I think my big point on the statue thing is let's fuck off with the statues. Honestly, no one cares anymore. We don't need statues of people anymore. All right? We have animatronics. We have fucking we have sex robots. We can't build a robot of, somebody, and that way, if it's not built in stone, cheaper and easier to move once we figure out that this guy is this guy did something 300 years ago that we don't agree with now, it's easier to take down and replace. In fact, if they have a similar body structure, just throw on a coat of paint. I could definitely see a Thomas Jefferson doll or robot or whatever repainted real quick into a Bill Belichick easily. I could see a Taft in Andy Reid. If you just want to go sports. And then that's another question. What do you do with fucking Mount Rushmore? That is just a giant fucking... That is just cutting out the middleman. That's saying, hey, we like statues. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to, rather than take this stuff and build a statue out of it, I know what we're going to do. Let's just blow it up a bunch until it looks like what we would have built statues for. Well, if you look at it, 3 out of the 4 people, and who knows where Lincoln's going to stand once this all levels out. But 3 out of the 4 people on there, they're taking their statues down already. So if you don't have, I don't know how you blow up that to make it look like someone else. Again, let's stop with the fucking statues. Here's my my solution to all this. All right, here it goes. If you have a statue, leave it up and just use it like the with baseball stats, there's the live ball era. They look at the steroid era different than they look at now. So look, if you have a statue, your stats are in the statue column. All right. Now we're done with statues. All right. So going forward, or even what they built the statues out of. Going forward now, we're at animatronics, robots, things like that. So going forward now, this is the new era that's starting. And so you look at you grade stone statue people on a different curve as you grade current people. That way, what we're gonna do is it's a lot of work pushing a fucking statue in the river. Never tried, but I've tried to break a parking meter, so I can imagine what a statue would do. It saves all that time and trouble, and then B, it saves us from this argument going forward anymore. Because hey, no more statues. Now we just this guy isn't cool anymore. We just paint him, and it's more modern. You realize, you could base it off of, hey, this stone guy, he used to beat his what? Oh, but he's in stone. Okay, so since he's in stone, we can still leave him up. The good outweighs the bad. This guy, who's a animatronic robot standing up here, he was known to beat his wife. Well, since he's in the robot and animatronic era, this one has to come down. So I don't see the issue with that. I mean, quite honestly, I'm not a smart guy. I've made that abundantly clear. I tend to be a stumbling, bumbling prick. But what I don't get is, why can't we? And now here's one argument that finally got to, and we can jump back to serious real quick, where that finally got me to say, hey, look, okay, I get it. You talk about, slavery was the era, but I think any human being, when asked, would say, regardless if this is what we do, it's probably not okay to own people. That would be, so, that's where you say, okay, if they're a slave owner, okay, maybe they were, but I just don't see, I don't know, I'm not just saying this, I'm not trying to be a trying to be a cunt about this, but, I don't see a reason for the fact that George Washington was a slave owner in the 1700s to matter to how we view his legacy. And what his legacy also includes is fucking statues. All right. So, again, you just gotta separate the stats, is all I'm saying. And what we could do even is, we gotta stop with the fucking statues, first of all. Like, again, Stone Age. Why are we still doing shit with stone? We have better things now. I mean, fucking 3D printers. We could 3D print something better than that. And a lot cheaper and a lot easier to move or destroy if we had to. There it is. From now on, we don't make these fucking stone statues that we have to try to, blow up to move once we figure out that this guy, owned a Toyota. In 200 years, we find out that Toyota was, something, anti-Bolivian or something like that. Once we get there, then we don't have to worry about it. You just, it's a lot easier to take care of. And then, quite honestly, again, you can 3D print templates of a lot of things, and then that's what paint's for. So you could have them ready to go if you need to take down, if you need to quick take down a Barack Obama statue because that one time he rode a bike on the wrong side of the street, and all of a sudden that's horrible nowadays. You have one ready to go and say, okay, who are we replacing with? And then that's where you pick it off. So that's my solution for statues. I mean, really, there's two. Get rid of all the fucking statues and stop building them. Or let's start our, I guess segregating, it's a shitty word. Let's start putting our statue-worthy people in, God, I was rolling so good. I just fucking lost it. The other option is to, separate the statue-worthy stats. Just like baseball had the dead ball era and the steroid era, let's have the same thing with statues, okay? You know what? These statues were built for people in the slavery era. Okay, we're not building any more statues from that era. So, I mean, that's all I really got. To sum up, I think statues are bullshit. I think we need bailout hookers. I'm all in on Australian rules football, and yeah, I mean that's basically it. And so back to the beer selection here. It's called Johnny Utah. If you need to remember that, just think Point Break. Johnny Utah Pale Ale from Georgetown Brewing Company in Seattle. And I want to address something real quick before I go. I need to tell my sister Stacy that she can go fuck herself, all right? I have multiple beer requests that come in. This was my next one. Hers is coming up next episode. So, Stacy, once you get to this point, here's what I need you to do. Go fuck yourself and shut up. All right, if everything works out well, the episode that comes up next Tuesday is going to be a special edition. Not sure if it will be yet or not, but if not, it'll just be a normal drunken ranting of the C Squared Hour again. So if obviously like, subscribe, rate, all that stuff wherever you get your podcasts. Stitcher, that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Fuck. But anyway, Stitcher looks like it's getting bought by Sirius, so we'll see what that means. Anyway, yeah, so like, subscribe, rate, all that other happy horse shit. And I don't think I got anything else, so I will see you next Tuesday.